Good. All right, I will call the work session to order. First item on the agenda is the 2024 audit presentation. You want to start, Rick? Sure, why not? There's Adam.
All right, we have Adam Pulley on Zoom and Justin Nort and Allison Gorham, all of which were on the audit for the 2024. Adam came on, I would say roughly January, February. Allison has been on for the last couple of years, and Justin came on about February or March, I believe. I think he just had a baby and came back from that and was presented our audit to look over. So I will leave it up to Adam here to kind of go over. He has a presentation. He'll go over it here real quick and take any questions.
All right. Well, thank you, El. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody. Good evening. As Rick said, my name's Adam Pulley, is the principal in charge of the audit here. Hopped on about midway through. And I know that there is a slew of information that you would have received or is potentially in front of you. Financial statements, items that we had issued, as well as the presentation I'm going to reference, and really even the presentation, which is towards the back of the materials. I'm probably just going to reference a few of those individual pages. For me, the presentation is really going to focus more on the audit results, right? What we would have found in terms of our opinion, any recommendation or findings, and not so much around the financial numbers themselves, because really Rick, Cynthia, and the city management would be better to contextualize that information. So all that said, if you're following along in the presentation materials, it's on slide 2, or PDF page 74 if it's electronic. But I'm just looking at the agenda items, and again, I mentioned there are a few things that we had issued. Really, at the end of the day, what I want everybody to recognize is nothing surfaced that was alarming to us during the audit process. We did issue an unmodified opinion. In other words, a clean audit opinion. That's the best opinion that we can give the city, obviously the one that you would want to have. And that said, during our audit procedures, we did come across a couple items that I did want to touch on in terms of recommendations. Before I get to that, I do want to touch on the fact that one of the items that we issue is called a letter to governance. And really what this is largely boilerplate language. It's our opportunity as the auditors to express to the board if we came across any disagreements with management, any significant delays, things of that nature. And there really wasn't anything way out of the ordinary or unanticipated that is noteworthy, more or less. So I'm going to skip ahead then to slide 4 of the presentation document. And a separate letter that we issue is what's known as an internal control communication. This would be the document that would have any findings that we came across or other recommendations that we felt like was worth putting in writing. So we did come across 2 items that are considered material weaknesses. I put in the presentation, and I'll make sure that it's clear that these were repeat items from previous year. And frankly, I would suggest that they were anticipated. More so and moreover, these are items that we see pretty often in our clientele, especially of a municipality this size. Justin, myself, Allison, we work with a slew of different communities and clients, and there's probably 3 different material weaknesses that we see more often than not. And so the 2 items that are here with the city fall into that bucket. Now, that said, I'll touch briefly on each of them. First item here is preparation of the financial statements. Essentially, what this boils down to is we assisted the city in putting together the financial statements to ensure that they were in accordance with accounting standards. The city obviously played a good part in that. But as far as keeping up with all the gowning, the GASB accounting standards, the different footnote disclosures that come with that, there was some reliance on our assistants to prepare that information. Now, that said, the city did review the financial statements in their entirety and ultimately approved what was issued. The reason why this is a finding is because as the external auditors, we cannot be considered part of the internal control structure of the city. So by virtue of that, that is why I say this is a common finding that we see, because there's a lot of communities that maybe have not kept up with those GASB standards that seem to be more and more. I'll tell you, when I started, there was, I think, about 40 GASB standards, and now it's up over 100, 105, something like that. So it's really shot up in the 15, 18 years I've been doing this work. Now I'll hop to the second one here. Audit adjusting entries. Honestly, it's kind of similar to the first one in the sense that we help to prepare the financial statements, and the audit adjusting entries, we did come across a few things that had to be adjusted in order to get to the appropriate accounting standards. So again, they're sort of tied together. We can't be considered part of the city's internal control structure. So again, we have to note this as an audit finding or a material weakness. In both cases, we did go over with city management these items, and they've expressed to us interest, significant interest in trying to mitigate these risks or these items as much as possible going forward. So we have had some collaboration. We'll continue to have some ongoing collaboration for how those items can be mitigated in future years. So, I'm about done. I was going to pause for questions, but really of the rest of the slides here, the financial results, most of the rest are just more for reference trend information over the last handful of years. Some slides are a little more busier than others, but again, it's just for your reference. I wasn't necessarily going to touch on any in particular. I suppose the one that I think might be worthwhile would be slide 11, just because I know I have other communities that find interest in this particular number. And what this is, months expenditures and fund balance for the general fund. In other words, the amount of fund balance that is sitting in the general fund that is available to cover expenditures of the city. So that figure being a little bit under 7, that essentially represents 7 months or a little under 7 months worth of fund balance that can cover the 7 out of 12 months worth of the city's expenditures based on the current year's expenditures. Hopefully that makes sense. And I guess I can contextualize that a little bit, is that in my experience, a lot of communities at a minimum usually look to make sure that's at least 3 months worth. Again, that's just at a minimum, and realistically tend to kind of hover right around where the city is. So I just thought I'd put that a little bit into context and explain that. Otherwise, I didn't necessarily have anything else that I wanted to present from the onset. I certainly want to thank Cynthia and Rick for their help during the audit. As mentioned, myself and Justin kind of came on halfway, and I am sure that we would have asked some questions that maybe our predecessor would have known from the get-go, or heck, sometimes we just do things differently. We ask different questions. So Rick and Cynthia were very patient with us. We appreciate their patience. And, we, at the end of the day, issued a clean audit opinion, and nothing really alarming surfaced during our audit. So I'll stop there. That was a lot. Sorry if I went a bit too fast, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Adam. What questions does the board have?
Mayor, just curious, you work with obviously tons of different organizations, both private and public, in our case, municipalities. How does this kind of compare to average municipalities in the state of Missouri? And maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm guessing that you serve other municipalities. So I'm just curious what you're kind of seeing statewide and how we compare to that.
When you say compare, what do you mean?
Well, just in budgetary, how we were handling, how our processes are. Obviously, you've issued a clean audit. I guess really just kind of looking for what you see, maybe top 1, 2, 3 issues that come up. And it sounds like we're very similar to other municipalities. So that's kind of just what I'm looking at.
Yep, no, that helps. And yes, actually myself, Justin and Allison, we pretty much spend just about all of our time with governmental entities and municipalities. Very much our wheelhouse. And as I alluded to kind of when talking about those two findings, the third one, besides those two, the third one that we oftentimes see with municipalities would be lack of segregation of duties. Meaning that there's just not enough resources or the processes and controls aren't in place, that there's, a second set of eyes looking over all transactions. There might be on certain transactions, but not all. So really those 3 items tend to be the most common. So in terms of comparison, I keep coming back to the statement that there's nothing really alarming to me or unanticipated. And the fact that management has expressed interest in mitigating those risks, whether they can be fully mitigated or not, sometimes isn't always the case, but mitigation is still mitigation and is appropriate and to do, in my opinion. I think the city is comparable, I suppose. And I don't know if that's entirely answering your question, but as it relates to an audit lens or looking through an audit lens, I think about it in terms of processes and controls, and nothing really surprised me.
No, that's helpful.
So
Hey,
I
go
think
ahead.
what Dan's trying to get to also, like on average, how many clients you guys work with in a year on the municipal side?
Myself personally or firm?
Both.
Myself personally, probably 40 to 50, all governmental entities. I mean, the firm has thousands. We're a pretty large firm. We have thousands of municipal clients.
And I think this separation of duties we still had on there 5, 6 years ago until we added some controls around that. So I'm glad to see that one's not popping back up.
No, thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. And hats off to Rick and Cynthia and the staff. This isn't easy, but this is in their wheelhouse. And I think we continue to step it up, at least from a board of aldermen. I think we're stepping it up every year and doing more and more and really paying attention to detail. So I appreciate your feedback.
It's my favorite phone call every year.
You have a question.
'Cause it's
The Finance Committee was abolished here last year, and the question is, compared to other municipalities that do or do not have a Finance Committee, have you seen any difference in any discrepancies between cities that do not or do have a Finance Committee?
So just for the record, so you guys know, we didn't have an ordinance finance committee. It was just a mayor's advisory committee to run stuff by and budget for me prior from citizens and aldermen prior to things going to the budget. So just for context, so you have it, Adam.
Sure. And really the short answer is no. At the end of the day, different municipalities do things differently, and it really doesn't rely so much on the structure itself, but how things actually operate, and that second set of eyes or things of that nature. So again, short answer, no, I don't necessarily see that.
Okay, thank you very much. Very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions we've got 3 of them on here. Okay. Anybody got anything? Rick, anything? You gonna get them financial statements done for us next year? It was in your interview, man. All right.
That, as we've talked, that is a goal. And we continue to try to provide additional information, and you'll see a different way of presenting some of the budget information even as we go through that over the next several months. But I want to take time to thank Rick and his staff and staff throughout the organization. The audit is a time-consuming process. Auditors show up on site in December and off and on through just about February, sometimes early March. They're not on site that whole time, but they are following up with questions or calls, and it may involve Rick and his staff getting information together or working with other staff to find answers to questions on projects or things like that. So appreciate the time staff puts into that effort.
Tony kind of perked up when you said preparing financial statements, so it sounds like he wants to help. All righty, well, I guess y'all are free to go.
Thank you very much for
Go,
the
go
time.
Royals.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Adam.
Or St. Louis.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, is this the Gina show now?
Yeah, and I have more time too. But we are going to be talking about the website redesign and do a preview. So we have this scheduled to go live on Monday, May 12th. If everything goes well with the transition. It is going to be a little bit bumpy. We did want to try to extend it, but we did not get any communication with our current provider to extend that deadline. So we are sticking to May 15th as the final cutoff. So I'm excited to show the new website. I did want to thank Linda Drummond. She worked really hard on this as a project manager with me, and then also our communications committee. Each department has a representative and they work to review their sites, especially when we did this transition. So we still have training this week, so it's very fast paced, but we will get through it. Right. Should I just screen? There we go. All right. So this is the landing page. It's a little, I don't know why it's a little zoomed in, but basically we'll have this kind of news box right here. So we'll put announcements there, and then you can close this or read more. It'll take you to a news article. And we're still in the migration stage, so there's still some like quality control things, like this will be normally over here. But as you go through the page, you can see there's a search box right in the middle. And then also quick links for like paying your utility bills, applications. So these will be changed as we go live. And then on the side, you'll see these little tabs. And as you scroll throughout the website, it will transition through there. I think maybe we're zoomed in. I'm trying to figure out. It looks different on my computer. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And basically through here, you'll have quick links and online payments. And then as you scroll, you'll have news highlights, and there's also an opportunity to even put video. So that's just a training thing for them to show us. And then we have a calendar. So it'll be separating from meetings versus events. So then you can really look at what you are looking for versus meetings or just events that we have going on. And then it'll click out like a little pop-up, but you'll still have the website in the background. And then also, if you go to Viewful Calendar, you can export it as well. So just a little bit more user-friendly for people who aren't wanting to do things electronic. They can print the calendar. And then as you go down, you can also click on whatever tab you'd want. We have quick links too for mayor and aldermen. Again, more things. These are going to be updated with kind of more what we see people going to throughout the website with the analytics. And then we also have the opportunity for a new subscription where you can actually get e-notify text messages and email. So that'll be a new communication tool for the city. And I'll show you a department page. Parks and Rec, we have different tabs at the top. And then you also have the related pages on the side. And then just a little bit more modern feel of having the quick link buttons. So if you go to facility rentals, you'll get to see that there is a link for each actual facility. And then if you go there, it'll take you to the team sideline link of that park. And then these are the breadcrumbs. So basically, just to get back to that page, you just click right there. And then again, the same with program and events. It is quick links to the team sideline for signups. So we tried to make it pretty similar to what Parks is currently doing with their separate website. We wanted it an easier transition and still kind of feel the same what they currently have. And then the big thing too is on the side, we'll have contact info for every department. So just easier use of that. And then we'll still have a report of concern feature. And then it'll go to the appropriate department head and their staff. I'm trying to think of a new thing that we have now is an actual online employment application. It'll take me. See, this is part of the quality control. We're still working through it. So if you see anything and it's not working correctly, just let me know and we can work to get it updated. But there will be an online employee application form.
Hey, Gina, you mentioned report of concern, and I may be
Yes.
jumping ahead on you. If
Yeah.
you would share, okay, but you're gonna,
Yeah, so there is gonna be a new thing that'll be rolled out in the next probably couple months is a public service request center where you're actually gonna be able to submit like a mapped location of that concern. So if you see a pothole, you'll be able to geolocate that and then also add a picture. So it can be a little bit more descriptive, or if you have a complaint on someone not taking care of their property, you'll be able to do it that way too.
And
go
Gina,
ahead.
I'm sorry, and correct me if I'm wrong, then we have a different mechanism for tracking those report of concerns or those citizen concern items so that we know when the current system, we don't have a way to know it goes to a number of people in the organization. And I don't know if Gina's responded or not, if she forgot to copy us on a response or some, this will be very centralized and you'll know when a response has gone out, and it then also creates a database that we're able to pull and report.
It creates a database and say, you know, I saw this pothole, but I'm not sure if anyone else has reported it yet. There is going to be a feature where you can see what has been reported in the last 30 days. So then you'll be able to see the response actually on the website of, oh, we have the crew scheduled for this time to go out. So it's going to be a better communication tool for everybody. And if someone's out of town, we can set like a ruled approach where, okay, if Brandy doesn't respond to this in 5 hours, it's going to go to Gina. So it's going to be a better tracking mechanism in that way too for follow-up. And then I also wanted to show, let me go here. A new thing that we have is a lot more accessibility. So with this widget, you have more opportunities for changing things. So you can make the text bigger. You can make it more spaced out. You can hide images if those are if those are distracting. And then you can also make it dyslexia friendly. So there's a lot of things that we didn't have before. You can even change the contrast if certain colors are hard to see. You can highlight links that you maybe didn't know were there. So really you can make your cursor bigger. So it's a lot of new things. So it's exciting. And then also we'll have a translation option. So thinking World Cup, having a website that's easily translatable is great. And so if you click that, it will translate everything for you right then. Yeah.
Did your calendar link in with anybody else's calendar?
So right now it's just the city ones, but then we'll be adding our parks events on there and then linking to that community calendar that the chamber has.
And Alderman Atkins, what we try to do is direct everyone to the community calendar through the chamber, so.
We could add a special like placeholder.
I mean, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Just a temporary feature or something.
Yeah.
Capitalize on that maybe.
Mhm.
I don't say advertising, but have you ate here, have you shop? I don't know, just-
Yeah. And we do have the opportunity, I think
Well, they
it's,
have a page to look at.
yeah.
What's available in Smithville?
Right. And we do have the option, like we can add a calendar at the bottom of a page. So we can also like, if we have a World Cup event page on the website, we can link it through there as well. So lots of opportunity to kind of make the page your own. The departments, we all have training tomorrow on how to edit our pages. So it might, developments page might look a little bit different than parks, having a little bit more pictures on theirs versus development. But it still has that common theme throughout every department page and then page on the website. So we have our main tabs, government. We do have the departments tab and then community, those quick links. And then just general services on here. So I'm hoping that with all the search capabilities, it's gonna be a lot better, especially having the search on anywhere on the website and then having that on the landing page as well. So I'm happy to hear any feedback or if you want anything to look different. We're really excited. It's definitely going to be a good transition, and they provide a lot of training for staff. So we have unlimited training opportunities. They have videos and we can schedule it with an actual person at any point too. They've been really, really good to work with.
No, initially it looks very clean. The navigation process looks a lot better. I think that I'll be very interested in the search function. It seems like that's what I hear from constituents is how it does on searching for previous alderman meetings or notes or.
Yeah, and we're actually able to train our search. So say if someone puts in the word water, we would want to have like utility billing as the first thing, or maybe we'll link the master plan. So you're able to link very specific things as a city of like, these are the top resources that people, if they're looking for this, we want this to come up first. So it is going to be a lot better for that. Or like if we have a new thing out, we can blast it on that news item as well.
And Gina, would you also talk a little bit about history? We currently on our website have what sometimes I think of as the bane of my existence is the document center. That is the repository of all kinds of information that I think really added to some confusion in the search. Because if I look for comp plan, it might pull up the 2003 comp plan. And that's what somebody's looking at and is looking at 20-year-old information and not really realizing it's not the most recent. So Gina and I were talking today, one of the things that they had long conversations with the developers or with Revise, we keep our current documents and in the historical area, particularly with like minutes, meeting information and budgets, we archive for really only 5 years. The rest of the information is here at City Hall, or we follow the retention schedules there, so that the most current information is online and you're not losing sight of that information.
Yeah. Or getting an old form or something like that that's not current. It'll keep it a lot more, this is what is accurate now. So.
Gina, on the search feature, as far as if you're looking for city code and you want to know hot water heaters or something, right? And so it would go, does it direct you to the city code or does it direct you to the section with hot water heaters? That's, I mean,
So it would be searching our website. If they were looking for a specific code, then they would have to go to that website for the Municode.
Are we putting building codes on here though, Jack, or just code of ordinances?
Well, the
Building codes are codified into.
Right, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
so if it's linked
those
that
aren't-
way.
our codes. Those are international building codes.
But we adopt
Yeah,
them, but
yeah.
we adopt that and it's in our
And
code
we
of
don't-
ordinances.
Our contract with the ICC allows us to put the link in.
Yeah.
Allow us to
With the
take it
text.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Because that could change anytime.
But and that's, I think following up on what the mayor said, if you want to know on a building code, would it direct you to the codes or would it take you to the building code that you're asking for? That's what I'm trying to say. Does it take you there? Does it bulk dump you into the whole building codes
It wouldn't,
start at one?
it wouldn't automatically dump you into that other website if you're searching that word, but like say if you're searching for water heater and it's in a document that has the section linked, it'll highlight that, I
Okay.
believe. And part of that, we aren't able to test the search while we're in this migration. It has to be live for us to start testing that. So part of that is us kind of figuring out what exactly it'll be pulling.
My guess is going to go to schedule of fees because that's where water heater is on our website.
If you need some help searching with testing and
Yeah,
whatever,
that'd be
I would
great.
be more than happy to.
Mhm.
And a question on picture updates. You mentioned, so the picture like we're looking at now, do you have the admin, I guess, who are the admin? And do you have permission to change certain features on here without having to go through?
Yes, so
the
we have
vendor?
complete control over the content and images on our website. And part of the project that we need to work on is getting more updated pictures. But everything is on us to keep our website up to date after this migration. And the biggest thing, again, we found out through this, we probably should have done marketing a little bit earlier, but we're getting caught up and we'll be able to edit it throughout the whole time that we have the website.
Just go to a monthly photo contest instead of
Yeah,
yearly.
monthly. Mm-hmm.
Look at all the seasons.
Yeah.
'Cause Matt always gets plenty of photos, but
Yeah, and then you can also.
I'm sure Chuck's got a ton we can get, but we don't necessarily want them on the website. I'm still waiting on the live stream of the bar screen. Bar stream cam. Bar screened. Hashtag bar screen. Spent the most money on that this year, like,
Hey,
or
Dino,
last year.
one other question. Sorry, I'm gonna just keep throwing them at you.
Throw them at me.
You mentioned earlier the e-notify or the
Yes.
notify me. So people who've signed up for the notify function through the existing website, will we need to make sure that and we will communicate to
Yep.
people the transition and the processes they'll need to go through so that they get that communication of if you want to be able to get news flashes or agenda postings, those sort of things. So that we will, as we roll this out, we'll undertake a new public information campaign on things you're going to have to change. Just like changing your passwords with
Yep.
a new system.
I get lots of notifications from the county when they upload.
Yeah,
Four of
and
them
we can
every time.
choose if we want something to be emailing people out versus
Every time it's updated.
if we're changing a sentence, we probably don't want to update everybody on a website change.
Go for it.
And usually it'll be like, this page has been updated. So then it just directs people to that page. And the nice thing too is we'll be able to see when a page was last updated. So if I go on and I see, oh, this hasn't been changed in a year, we probably need to, figure out why it's not being updated. Or is it just one of those stagnant pages that doesn't change very often?
Gina, has there been any talk with the vendor about kind of integrating maybe chat bots and helping? Already there, huh? So we already
So
have
we
it?
do have a chat bot,
Good,
which
good.
will be training. And then again, that's part of the whole like after go live. We get more opportunity to do that kind of stuff. So it's kind of in stages, like this is
Start
the
training
launch,
Dan.
and then we'll be rolling out additional things afterwards.
Start feeding data.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When are we gonna have online business license renewal?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So that's the other thing too, is we can do a lot of online forms now that we weren't able to do.
Will it be ready for renewal time this year when we do that in
Yeah, we
October?
can do that. It's really easy. Let's see. I'm trying to show what one looks like.
Land and plains, land and plains.
Okay.
It's really easy.
Now it's working. So this is kind of what we did. We were taking paper applications, so they would have to email HR, and then that's how we would get applicants. So I would get some applications that wouldn't have anything filled out except their name, and their signature at the bottom, or sometimes they wouldn't sign it. And we do require resumes. So this way now we have an online application form, and with everything being asterisk of required, they can't actually submit anything without answering all of this. And the biggest thing too is at the bottom on our forms, you can add a required file. So then that kind of streamlines a lot of the processes for forms, because then we don't have to follow up with people on, oh, well, I need you to submit this and this. We can make it a requirement, because it will not let them submit unless they did everything.
Does it, if they submit a resume, does it auto-fill, does it auto-populate?
No, it does not auto-populate.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
But that's just an example of an online form, which will streamline a lot of things for HR, and then we're gonna be doing similar things for utility billing and then business licenses, so it'll make it easier. And then when you open that kind of thing, it'll take you to a new tab, so you'll be easily able to go back to the website if you need to look at anything else. So. And it's mobile friendly. It'll adjust to your screen size, so that'll be good too.
Sounds great.
All right, well, thank you.
I know it's not easy. Great work.
Yeah, I do want to particularly thank Gina and Linda. As Gina said, they have spent a lot of time on this in the communications committee. And it's going to be reflected in the document that we have, or the website that we have. So we're excited to roll it out, as we noted and discussed before we started the work session. This is going to be, it's a work in progress as we roll it out in the coming days, and there will be glitches. We guarantee that, but we're as we work through it, and just be patient as we implement the new system, and we're very excited to be able to do this for the community.
So is Gina and Linda, are they the administrators?
Yes, so we have the admin access, and then each department has a specific person that can edit content on that page.
Thank you.
And one of the things we've talked about for those departmental editors, that editing of content, we want to ensure we're keeping it up to date and crisp. So as they're trained, I know yesterday and today there's been some training on the content management, but then also just the system as a whole. So as we move through different parts of the year, different information, hope to be able to provide information. Should be an easier interface in updating that information than what we have had. So we're excited about that as well.
And we can have things as draft pages. With our current provider, everything we do is automatically updated. We don't have the opportunity to get more feedback on things, more internal review before it's on the website. So this will be a nice new feature for getting things updated. We can update it before it really needs to be on there. So
How long can you access the current system? Will you be able to access it in the future, like a year from now, 5 years from now?
our deadline is May 15th, and I don't know what is going to happen because our current provider will not respond to us. So
Delete.
We've reached out multiple times and in multiple ways by multiple people, and have not received response back on that.
Lovely. Okay, thank you.
I think all the documents are still on our shared drive anyway, so. Is this all single sign-on through a 365? Is this tied to your Microsoft account to log in?
no, it's a separate login, but everything that we have on our current website's in our common drive.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? Anybody? I know we had a committee pick this stuff, and I know the committees have been working on it, so. Only took 7 years. We were there. I expect lots of videos, Tony. I know you guys like to arrest skeletons and such, so. But when you arrest a skeleton, we want to see that. I mean, that's not too long from now. I didn't see any St. Patrick's Day stuff this year.
And once we have videos, we can also put that on the homepage.
So-
I'm missing our elf on the shelf too. Okey dokey. Well, with that, nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to make a motion to for work session to be adjourned.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Stand adjourned for work session. See y'all at 7. Matt, Amy's coming, right? Okay. Local Government Week, Public Service. Which one do you want, Cynthia?